What's going on, gang? I hope we're all good. It's a little bit different today's episode. What we're going to go over is actually what my training is. Thank you very much for being involved over the Ironman. Yes, I've survived. Everything's all good. I went to a sport cardiologist in Nuffield at the Manchester Institute of Sport and got the green light, which was really, really good. Basically said that my cardiovascular system is in great nick. I'd say it was epic. And also my respiratory function is all back to normal. So it's very much a case of now what? So what I'm going to do is give you a quick 30-second to 2-minute going over about my training, what my plan of action is, and then what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to show you guys actually how to actually understand the approach that I'm going to take, which is always health first. Now, anything in around high performance stems from being the most adaptive and optimized organism out there. So what we're going to be talking about is actually what my training is right now. And as you guys would know, that to start with, it was the Ironman, which is very much a case around energy system development, is what we call ESD. Okay, so it was very much a case of swim, bike, run, and then obviously we were talking around as well is strength. Now, when we're looking at endurance sports, the main thing about strength in endurance sports is trying to stay injury-free, and also we have to give yourself rhyme and reason. Now, what that means is there's no need for me to be able to pulling a 1RM deadlift if I'm looking to do an Ironman necessarily, unless you're a true hybrid athlete, which we're going to go over because I think too many people are using that term. There are some people that are warranted to be a hybrid athlete. A lot of people aren't. We'll go over that later on anyway. We're starting back from base. And what we need to start thinking around is actually how to periodize. Whenever you're looking at training, what you're looking at are 3 key phases. Obviously, you're looking at accumulation, intensification, and then what you look here is peak, competition, or this can be a deload later on. Okay, realistically, most people will stay in these phases. And then people that have got some form of competition, they'll go into this last phase. Okay, it doesn't matter what sport you're in. For me personally though, I'm taking a health first approach because I've spent a long period of time doing a lot of aerobic work. But the main thing for me right now is to be as strong and physically capable to start my next venture, which is actually going to be BJJ. I'll start that in 4 weeks time. My cardiologist has given me the green light to do everything. I could actually technically go and do a marathon if I wanted to, he said, but just be very, very careful. I'm not going to. But what I want to do to start with is using this pyramid again, is we look at health first, we look at physical performance, and then here is optimal performance, which is both. It's when you get them both hand in hand, that's when you're gonna see the fruits of your labor, okay? But if we're looking at a health first approach, there's some simple key things that we're gonna look at and how I'm gonna track my metrics. Number 1 is resting heart rate. See where that is. You want your resting heart rate between 50 and below is optimal. Really, if you're looking to sort of be the fittest version of you, anywhere between 55 and 50 is acceptable. 60 is a work on. Anything above 60, you need to build your aerobic capacity. Okay, so that's what we want to do. So basically, if it's 50 or below, which is that way, we're doing that way, innit? 50 or below, perfect, but that'll take a bit of time. Next thing what we're going to look at here for me, personally, is I've been off training for 4 weeks. I've only just started back. So there's no point on me going anywhere above 80% straight away because the base of my pyramid is going to be very, very small. To start with, what I need to do is build a huge base of strength and tolerance to weight training and to conditioning, to then long term do the opposite, and that's what we're going to see that peak of where our best peak performance will be. So what I'm doing is I am going to be running the next 3 phases at high volume. To start with, my phase 1 is going to be a 5x7 accumulation phase. My phase 2 is going to be a 9, 9, 7, 7, 5, 5 descending rep series, which again, you're working around sort of up to 80%-ish. 7% is 75-ish percent, a bit more. Actually, that's a lie. That's probably about 80%. And this one's about 85%. 3, what I'll be running here will be very dependent. It'll be dependent on how I go, but I'll be doing, we call it a broad pyramid system, which is probably going to go 7, 5, 3, 3, 5, 7. Okay, the reason why you do this kind of rep scheme is to give you double exposure, is the posh term. Okay, from a strength standpoint, what I do is I massively want people to do is I want them to have you use a thing called structural backloading, which we're going to start with. We're going to basically work on joints, posture, and we look at tolerance. This one here, from a cardiovascular standpoint, so we go for number 1, is going to be about building threshold again. So threshold, and something that I haven't done lately, which I will do probably in phase 3, is going to be working at anaerobic capacity. I don't need to do that yet. I haven't done any aerobic based work. Basically, using oxygen, this one's sprinting, layman's terms, okay? Those are going to be the next phase of training. That's going to be 9 weeks long. And then my phase 4, which I run my phases for 3 weeks usually, rather than 4. I just enjoy it more and I get the best benefit from changing it 3 weeks. 4 is I don't know, because I'm going to assess on the move. What I'm going to do in a minute, we're going to go through my gym, And also what I'm going to do is I'll sit you guys down and I'll explain to you how to build your own first phase, how to explain the sort of the key health metrics that we track, why you need to track them, and what the sort of most important things to focus on are right now, rather than just focusing on everything, being specific and getting you moving forward. Right, and gang, today's session for me, as mentioned on the whiteboard, we're doing 5x7. This is my session. What you'll see is that the big movement, most people do the big movement first. Me personally, when I'm trying to build a base with somebody and myself, the beginning of the session is what matters most from an adaptation standpoint, in my opinion. And as you'll see with my shoulders, I'm a rugby player and I like lifting heavy stuff, so I've got this anterior shift in my shoulder girdle, meaning my shoulder blades are upward rotating, is a posh term. Basically, I've got to get my shoulder blades strong to get our posture better. Number one thing right now is working on those little basics, rather than just expressions of big strength, bench, barbell shoulder press, how much you can dip. Obviously, I can dip 50 kilos, but not now. The ambition right now is to work on my sort of single arm strength, build a bigger back, get my shoulder blades nice and healthy, especially in jiu-jitsu. Whenever you're in jiu-jitsu, you're in an arm bar, when you're in a compromised position, you got to be strong on single arm and single leg, but single arm movement patterns. So that's the plan of action. Let's get into it. So as per usual, as mentioned in the last video, warm-ups are paramount, but I'm not the person that's going to be giving you 20 minutes of trying to find end range of this kind of shit. My advice to you is smash and grab, hit movements and stabilize joints, and also activate things that are important. One of the two key upper body movement patterns that I've forgotten are a bear crawl. Most people think a bear crawl is just for children. If you are trying to stabilize your shoulder through all different ranges, animal flow movements are really, really good, and I like them personally because it gets your heart rate up. And also a kettlebell windmill, what we're trying to do is your shoulder blade is a floating bone, but the shoulder joint itself obviously has to move in all directions. The kettlebell windmill is going to actually train that internal and external rotation, stabilize that joint. So obviously, so when I do bench, or I'm going to do a landmine press, I'm going to be more stable, generate more force. So the key things about a bear crawl, before anybody thinks I'm being seductive, I'm not. The key things about where my knee position is. My knee is close to the floor. You don't want your bum in the air. And what you're trying to do is basically be stable. As you move your knee, you move your hand. You're training the oblique sling. So that basically your oblique sling, hip and shoulders are connected through fascia. That's what a bear crawl's for. And obviously we're trying to stabilize that joint. We're trying to push into the floor, contract my shoulder blade rather than be stood there, neck down, have a nice neutral spine. What I do is I work on forward and I work on back. And then what I also do is I work side to side. What I don't want is my bum up. So I work on keeping myself nice and flat this way. Super simple one that I see getting butchered all the fucking time, does my head in, is a banded face pull. Imagine this is a cable face pull. People pull like this. If you're pulling like this, what you're training is you're training your rear delts, you're not training the muscles in your shoulder blade. What you want to do, hold the band here and pull it over your head so you're in external rotation. This is a little bit not that tight for me, but I'm looking for my elbow and hand to be in line. Not here, here. And whenever you're doing shoulder blade stuff or upper back stuff or trying to get activated, you want reps. Anybody stood there doing a 6 rep max on a face pull, run away from them, they're a knob. But more to the point of, it takes a lot of reps for those little muscles in your shoulder blades to get stimulated. So we want to go, whatever, 15, 20, or to burning. That for me is absolutely minging. So what I'll do is I'll do 2 sets crawl, 2 sets face pull. I'm then going to go into a kettlebell windmill just to warm up with, then we'll get into that first set. This, gang, is my favourite upper body warm-up. Doesn't matter what exercise you're trying to achieve, whether you're trying to go for horizontal push-pull or vertical push-pull. The key things to understand about a kettlebell windmill is grip first. What you want to be doing is looking at from a grip standpoint as I'm gripping it on a 45. Don't grip it like this, grip it like that. Because what that means is you're attaching the top of your forearm bones and you're rotating through there. You're not only rotating through your wrist, you're going to rotate with your elbow. Okay, so from this position, press above your head. Also, you see my hand, I don't actually have to grip it. It's not here, we're pushing to the top. I'm gonna have my one side in front of the other. You can go to the side or you can go direct. Let's just talk about it if we're a beginner. We're gonna turn and keep this above me and push all the way down to the floor. You'll see, that I'm facing the kettlebell the whole time. I'm not staring at you, I'm looking up. So I want to get that full rotation down to the bottom, into the top. Now, if you're looking at breathing, here, I breathe in, I rotate, I go down, whoop, there you go. I'll go down and breathe out. Okay, bring that down and change the sides. Okay, that position, you'll see that I've got my watch too. I've turned my watch. I mean, some people ask me that question. This side for me is a lot more unstable because I had a dislocated shoulder. So for me, you'll see that I'm bending my front leg a lot more. I can keep it straight, but it just takes a lot more out of me to do so. So when thinking about a landmine press, the key thing is about keeping your elbow in. You don't want to have an elbow flare. There's not really many times in relation to upper body movements for all the clients that I work with where we encourage an elbow flare. It loads your chest way more. What we're trying to do, a landmine half kneeling position, we're building pattern, and as well as that, keeping my elbow in and be able to push through and see as I extend my shoulder. That's going to train a muscle that most people don't use, serratus. Whereas if you elbow flare and I throw it, that's where you're going to actually find you load your AC joint and get shoulder pain. So even if it's on your bench, keeping your elbow in and underneath that the end of the barbell will allow you to stabilize more whilst using the right muscles. So also gang, you may be wondering why I'm using an incline bench rather than a flat bench press. Issue with the bench press is it pins your shoulder blade to the bench, and if you don't train the rest of your shoulder before you pin your shoulders, i.e. an incline bench you actually uses more shoulder and pec minor rather than just your chest. You can get AC issues. I like using either an incline bench or a close grip bench. I'm purely using a normal incline bench because I use close grip throughout my racing period. That's all I did. So I'm actually going to work on my normal bench press position. But it's imperative you're not going to be able to load this anywhere near like a normal bench press. And also the key thing about it, again, I'm a culprit of it in my youth as well, is going so heavy that when you get on the bench, you're raising your hips off and you're fucking driving around like an idiot. The whole point of this phase is to get stable. So keep my ass in the bench, focusing on tekkers and not just bouncing off my chest is imperative. You see a lot of people will say that from an athleticism standpoint that bench is either good or it's bad. I'm very much it's indifferent. It's a tool like anything else. I don't use dogmatic stuff when it comes down to programming. It's what's going to suit the client or what's going to suit myself. And I'm actually quite good at incline bench press. Obviously you guys can see too, there's not much gap behind me. So I don't ever go really, really heavy on bench, so I'm going to fail purely because I can't really bail. Again, keys to the car. If I could have a new house, double-sized gym, I'd have loads of space, spotters and all this kind of stuff. We can't do that. So work with what you got. That's very much what a garage gym's all about, right? Double-edged sword. Putting clips on stops them sliding. If I was to get pinned, the only way to get it off is to slide it off. But 90 should be okay. Some of that happens in our gym as well, just because of where we are. It's actually an amazing day today, but usually it's absolutely minging because it's wet. It gets quite, I call it mousty. It's like in between fausty and moist. It basically means that the other bar gets a bit slippy. So I put chalk on, not because I'm gripping on for a pull, but just because I don't want, I feel, I haven't got soft hands, but I've got desk hands, not workers' hands, as Bradley say. So having some grip is definitely key. It's like other people that will talk around whether you use straps or not, it's a whole different conversation. not for bench press obviously, but just to be safe. Point to note about bench press, whatever bench press you're using, whether it's a flat bench, even if it's dumbbells, most people will hold the bar here. The issue with holding the bar here is if you hold your wrist flat from underneath the bar here, I've got a kink, it's called an energy link, okay? What we want to do is put the bar on that point of your hand. So you'll see that what I'll do is I'll measure my thumb and I'll jam my hand on a 45-degree angle to grab, and I'll twist. What I'm doing there is all the pressure's going through this part of my hand, which means that I'm driving through the bar with bone rather than the meat in my hand. So just to run through it live, is go in, corners of your hand in the bar, measure them up. Me personally, I go here, and then I grab, and that's my hand position. I'm gonna twist, I'm gonna rotate externally rotate my hands and really think about snapping that bar using the bones of my hand. Whilst I get set up, and that's gonna give me the opportunity to drive through that bar without using or losing too much energy. Last set, I'm actually going to take it down a little bit. This is something that I have learned over many years of lifting heavy weights, is your ego will drive your progress. And for me, I'm doing 5x7. I got to 6 reps last time I was talking about my hand, and I started to see Jesus. I am post Ironman, my body feels good, my central nervous system is shot to shit. So every time I train, the posh term is I'm fucked. So instead, I want to complete what I need to do, rather than try and measure my old boy and do more weight and show off and show that I used to be able to bench 150. It doesn't mean shit. The amount of people that tell me they used to do things but can't do it now is outrageous. You're only as good as your last game, and you're only as good as your last gym session. Clip the ticket, get what we need out of it and move, rather than measure your ego. Trust me, 1, it'll keep you safe. 2, you actually won't look like a knob in the gym screaming. And 3, you're going to see way more progress long term. Last one for the day, last upper body session is a landmine meadows row, not a landmine row. The difference is elbow position. Think elbow in, I'm training my lats, so all the big muscles in my back. Elbow out, I'm training the back of my shoulder. I'm gonna start, the thing about a landmine is because it's got a 2-inch grip, I don't really want it to be grip focused, so I may strap up. People have this big thing about, oh, using straps, you're a pussy. You train grip or you train the muscle, you choose. I use straps for a landmine because it's fucking massive. If I'm training my grip, or I want to train my grip, which actually I probably will do today, it's not so much of a problem. But if my grip's the issue, why I can't load, an example is deadlifting. If you deadlift and you are a power lifter, you shouldn't use straps, because in competition you don't. Most athletes that I work with aren't power lifters, so using straps to lift heavy is okay, but then we train grips separately. 2 ways of doing this. You can do this on a bench. Obviously for space purposes I don't, and actually to be honest, holding a split stance with me is good for my core. All I'm going to do is have my knuckles facing down, don't have them out, and I'm going to pull my elbow in line with the bar. So I'm not pulling back here, because that's going to do my back. I'm training the outside of my shoulder. So bend my knee, elbow up. You'll also see, something that many won't do, is when they're in this split stance, they're just arms floppy. There's a physiological term called radiation, which means that if I squeeze this hand, I technically, from a brain standpoint, will start tensing my other side of my body. So whenever you're doing any sort of half kneeling work, tense your hand, or split stance, if you tense one side, you'll create more pressure in the other. That's obviously supposed to be used with a cable. If you're in a gym with a rope, I obviously don't have that luxury. Again, need to get a bigger house, get a bigger gym, that'd be good. But that tricep variation for me, I like that one. Personally, I get the most out of my triceps due to my posture, but just remember to split. Don't just go forward like you're throwing a rugby ball, up and out. I really used to extend that one. So that was the first upper body session back team. I'm not going to lie to you, I feel weak as a kitten. Got very much humbled by that bench press. I thought I'd get to 100. I usually can very easily, but I was proverbially, I'm not going to swear, in a very good place. Something that, again, I know a lot of you will do this, which is you blink. What that means is you change things around you. I don't know, insert change in your workout next week or whatever. We talked about adaptation, progressive overload. Each week I need to get better. 3 weeks. Come rain or shine, yes, I can vary it. Sometimes I may feel like I'm a He-Man, I could smash it. Some days I feel like now where I feel like Jane and I'm fucking weak as shit. No disrespect to Jane's out there. The point of that is I hit that movement, my body gets used to it, I learn again and I go again. It's massively important long term for your progress, long term for any form of performance, whether it is physical or mental. So just take that note. Next piece of the puzzle. I'm going to show you guys in the next video all around understanding health metrics, because that's the first thing that I'm going to be looking at is resting heart rate, HRV, stress markers that you can use for faster blood glucose. Also, not in this video, but I will be getting some blood work done. So stay tuned and I'll show you what that means.